Morning and welcome to Thought for the Day. Today I'm going to read a passage from Luke's Gospel, chapter 8, verses 26 to 39. Then they arrived at the country of the Gerasenes, which is opposite Galilee. As he stepped out on land, a man of the city who had demons met him. For a long time he had worn no clothes, and he did not live in a house but in the tombs. When he saw Jesus, he fell down before him and shouted at the top of his voice, "What have you to do with me, Jesus, Son of the Most High God? I beg you, do not torment me." For Jesus had commanded the unclean spirit to come out of the man. For many times it had seized him. He was kept under guard and bound with chains and shackles, but he would break the bonds and be driven by the demons into the wild. Jesus then asked him, "What is your name?" And he said, "Legion," for many demons had entered him. They begged him not to order them to go back into the abyss. Now there on the hillside, a large herd of swine was feeding, and the demons begged Jesus to let them enter these, and so he gave them permission. Then the demons came out of the man and entered the swine, and the herd rushed down the steep bank into the lake and was drowned. When the swineherd saw what had happened, they ran off and told it in the city and in the country. And then people came out to see what had happened. And when they came to Jesus, they found the man from whom the demons had gone, sitting at the feet of Jesus, clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. Those who had seen it told them how the one who had been possessed by demons had been healed. And then all the people of the surrounding country of Gerasenes asked Jesus to leave, for they were seized with great fear. And so he got back into the boat and returned. And the man from whom the demons had gone begged that he might be with him. But Jesus sent him away, saying, "Return to your home and declare how much God has done for you." So he went away, proclaiming throughout the city how much Jesus had done for him. Wow, so there are many different characters in this passage. We've got Jesus. The disciples would have been there, but they're silent. Perhaps they stayed on the boat, or perhaps they got out, but we don't hear from the disciples. We've got the man who was very, very troubled. His name is Legion. We've got the swine, demons, the herdsmen, and then the villagers who come out. So there are loads of characters. I'm just going to focus for these few minutes on Jesus and Legion. So whatever we think about demons, this chap is very troubled and very ill, and he's been ill for some time. He is too dangerous to live with people, so he's been living amongst tombs, and he's been shackled and chained to a guard. We don't know what's caused his illness, but obviously his behaviour has become pretty violent and probably quite frightening for those who have seen his behaviour. But nevertheless, what an awful way to be treated in your confusion, in your torment and your illness, to be chained up like this. And so Jesus comes, he recognises Jesus and comes screaming and shouting at him. And we read that Jesus remains calm. A very different reaction from everybody else, that calmness. But the next thing we notice is what Jesus says to the man. The very first thing he says is a really simple but powerful question. Jesus asks the man what his name is. And in doing so, it just strikes me as such a human question to make this man feel valued. Jesus wants to form a relationship with him. This man matters to Jesus. He's a really important person, and Jesus wants to heal him and bring salvation to him and restore his life once again. And so we see this lovely gentleness and respect that Jesus treats this man with. And so Jesus performs another miracle, another healing miracle, to really display the power that God has over evil. and he completely restores Legion to full health. Now, the villagers come out to find out what all this commotion is about, and I love the way that they find Legion sitting at Jesus' feet. Isn't that a beautiful thing? How often do we find ourselves sitting at Jesus' feet? Do we do it enough? Of just sitting or perhaps walking, but just being with Jesus, enjoying his company, listening to him and learning from him. And then the other area of encouragement I wanted to just pick out of this story comes right at the end of the story. Jesus gets up to leave town because the villagers don't want him there anymore because they are so scared. And Legion wants to go with him, and who wouldn't? But as is the situation with many, many of us, Jesus says, no, you can't come with me. You need to go back to your community and tell everyone what God has done for you. And I was, reflecting upon this chap Legion. Well, firstly, Legion has been shunned out of his community. People are scared of him. He's been locked up or chained to a guard. So he's very much been excluded by his community where he's come from. But also the whole of the community, they don't want anything to do with Jesus either. They've told Jesus to go and leave them alone. And Jesus is telling Legion here to go back to his community. In doing so, he's going to need to rebuild relationships, rebuild, love with people, and to share his story, to share what God has done for him. And isn't that a wonderful thing? To share his story. And, this is what Jesus calls us to do. So often, like Legion, the Christian witness can be really challenging for many of us. And it's certainly challenging here for Legion. But Jesus tells us to share our story, to share what God has done in our lives with those around us, whether it's our family, our local neighbourhood, just people that we come across. So during this week of prayer, as we're approaching Pentecost, we are praying for all sorts of things, but also for people to come to know Jesus who don't know him yet. And this is a great passage related to that in terms of sharing our own story. So let's extend these prayers to ask Jesus for courage, for us to be brave, to give us opportunities to share our story with those around us that we know and love who don't yet know Jesus. So I pray that this is a week where we are able to have some opportunities to share our story with others. Have a great day. Bye.